we sort of all knew that it needed to go back there because that really is the engine of the show. She had put him in his place for not living up to his promises. A lot of things that the Hearties are going to swoon for. There was no way we were going to not continue that, for Allie and Oliver. I think their wishes are going to come true.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Heart in Motion podcast. I'm so excited to welcome back to the podcast, Brian Bird. Thanks so much, Brian, for being here.
Hi, Stephanie. Great to be with you. Thank you.
So we just finished episode 4, so we're about a third of the way through season 13, and I thought it would be a great time for us just to check in, get your perspective on the season so far. There's been some looming questions out there as the season has already began. I know one of them that's kind of a big one. Joy Gregory, the showrunner for season 13, she dropped a big hint that they were pretty intentional all the way back in episode 1 of having Charlotte Thornton drop a big hint for Nathan Grant early on in the season to kind of pave the way for something that might happen later on. So this isn't necessarily fan created, which is exciting for us, but there's this P word that has been kind of bouncing around in the atmosphere. So I'm not going to ask you to divulge if, true, false, or whatever, but if I were to give you 3 words and you can have a wild card fourth, like at the end of the season, will Hearties be happy, surprised, shocked, or wild card? What do you think fans will be experiencing?
Do I only have to pick one?
You can pick as many as you want.
I'm going to give you all the 4 of those right back at you.
Okay.
Because that's what it's going to be.
Awesome.
We promise. And it's hard to believe it's already, third of the way through the season already. It's going so fast, but there's a lot of fireworks this year and a lot of things that the Hearties are going to swoon for. I'll just say it that way.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
So, staying on that topic for just a minute before we switch to different characters in the show. What do you think was, I know you guys sit around the table, there's a lot of planning that goes into the season. So what was important to establish? Because, Nathan and Elizabeth, this has been a thing since season 6, the development of their friendship and just leaning on each other. So what was said around that table of in season 13, this is what we need to establish for them before any next steps?
Yeah, well, look, there's always a bunch of homework before even any scripts get written. There's arcs that are built, right? Character arcs for Elizabeth, for Nathan, really for all the main characters in the show. There are arcs built and overriding sort of themes that get set in motion that have nothing to do with plot and have everything to do with where we want to end up at the end of the season and how the characters are going to grow. So I think we had to, obviously, with the big cliffhanger of them driving off, to Cape Fullerton at the end of the last season, we had to, obviously, couldn't jump past that. We had to sort of pick it up almost, a few days later. So it's sort of continuous, dramatization.
Yeah.
So getting past that, sort of that what to do next. And they had been there now for a few months, right? Yeah. In Cape Fullerton, staying with Charlotte and taking care of little Jack and making sure that this, insulin clinic could be established in Oak Valley that would give them the safety to move back. So we knew we had to sort of basically cover that. Mm-hmm. But as always is the case with this show, it's a slow burn, right? Especially with love stories. Even with Allie and Oliver, like what we're seeing already, through episode 4 of this beautiful 13th season, it's a slow burn. You don't know whether people are going to finally break and, kiss or make bigger commitments to each other or whatever. And it's always been our intent with this show, with all the different writers that have come and showrunners that we've had succeeding the sort of the world that Michael and I, gave birth to, Michael Landon Jr. and I gave birth to, um, we just know that chaste, chaste, right? Chaste romance is what Jeanette Oak really captures in her books. She was actually a pioneer of that kind of romance and that kind of storytelling. And so, as opposed to romance novels, which are not chaste, we do chaste romance, and we feel like that is actually rocket fuel for the show. So yes, it takes a long time for people to connect, right? And to take big next steps in their relationship. It took, Elizabeth and Jack Thornton 5 seasons to make that leap. So if it took that long for them to make that leap, I don't think we're like overdoing it for Nathan and Elizabeth, given everything they've gone through. So I'll just leave it at we know where they're going. Hearties wish they knew where they were going, right? And I think their wishes are going to come true. I'll say that much. If Joy Gregory can become the big pot stirrer this season, then I'm fine to let her take the lead on that. But I'm just going to say Hearties will be so thrilled and so excited with where we're heading.
Happy, shocked, surprised, thrilled, all of those, right?
All of them, all of them.
So, episode 4, we just finished watching Lucas get up in front of the town to kind of talk to them about those next steps and helping to rebuild the community after the fire. And I wrestled with this word and I landed on captivated because I went back and I watched Edie as she's in the crowd and she's watching as Lucas and she's very captivated. And it's almost like she's like, this is the Lucas I thought I was getting to know, right? She's
Right,
captivated by his words at the town hall. He makes the right move in this moment, we'll say, because he veers from Edwin's script. And you can tell he's continually having this inner struggle. So I'm curious, what have you really enjoyed about Lucas's arc this season so far?
well, what I sort of love, in contrast to the earlier arc several seasons ago now, between Elizabeth and Lucas, which we think was really wonderful television because we also knew that it was actually headed in a different direction while it was all happening. So the misdirection that people got frustrated with and felt a little bit, annoyed with us, maybe at that point, um, we knew where it was headed. And so we knew that it would ultimately head into a place that was sort of just right for the show, just right for for instance, the show has always been that red serge jacket. The books were about the red serge jacket and the school teacher. That's the premise of Wind Calls the Heart. So although we deviated for a season or so, right, from that premise, we sort of all knew that it needed to go back there because that really is the engine of the show. So with Edie and Lucas now, what is the engine of this relationship? They're both influential influencers, right? One's a lawyer, one's a governor. This is a power couple.
Yeah.
Uh, Power couples have a hard time getting past each other's power and each other's ego, right? To be honest, lawyers married to politicians, politicians married to lawyers. Yeah, that's totally fictional, right? In our world, it's so what I love about it is that it brings a whole nother layer of sophistication. And how do couples have romance? How do they get past their own egos and their own agendas? It's true. Lucas is he's running for a governor, a second term as governor already. It's time to start campaigning to become stay governor and to have a second term. Um, Edie is overcoming her own personal tragedy, right? And trying to help others. And so she is, in a weird way, it's the difference between a public defender and a prosecutor. Imagine a public defender having a relationship with a prosecutor, right? I see Lucas as that, as the
Yeah.
prosecutor side. He's not a prosecutor, but he's having to prosecute the law in his province as governor. So I think they're in a great place because as much as we can do drama on When Calls the Heart, as much as we're allowed to do drama, right, on When Calls the Heart, we need to do that because when you have conflict is the fuel of good drama, no matter where you turn. And so you can't just do episodes where everybody's going in exactly the same direction at all times. You need to see how human nature kicks in. And so I do believe that Edie and Lucas are sort of perfect this season because these points of friction are how people can actually fall for each other, getting past the points of friction.
I just talked with Allie Devereaux, and she phrased it so well when she said, in that moment, Lucas sees her in the crowd, and she kind of becomes his center, and just that.
Yes.
And I was like, man, that was such a perfect way to describe that moment.
Yes, I agree with Allie. That moment, because she had put him in his place for not living up to his promises at the beginning of the episode, and now he is having to show her that he's going to be the man that she needs him to be,
Hmm.
and the governor that the people need him to be, and not just a man who is tossed to and fro by the waves of politics and the waves of campaign donations and influence. Got to be true to who he's supposed to be, and so for her to be his North Star like that is pretty stinking cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have a new cast member or character this season in Alex MacIsaac, who is playing Gwen. And
Yes.
her dynamic with Lee and Rosemary has been fantastic to watch. What a reaction to having her so far this season, those episodes. Talk a little bit about that, but also, I think back to Oliver, and I know that Jacob had shared that originally Oliver was not a character that was going to be long term, and look what's happened. So, how do we get Gwen to stay in Hope Valley?
Well, I think you got to keep watching the next handful of episodes to get more of that answer. Um, but what I personally love, not just about Hope Valley or just about the world that we've all pitched in and created, is community, right? Sense of community. That is something that I feel like if the show ended today, that the legacy of community would outlive the show,
Yeah,
right? That we exhibited because you don't find it very much on television anymore.
true. Yeah.
So as part of community, right? Uh, we have obviously relationships that are going to evolve and develop, and we knew we wanted a young romance last season, right? In season 12, we wanted a romance. Well, there was no way we were going to not continue that, for Allie and Oliver in this season. And but we honestly had a love triangle emerge about a third of the way through that season 12 in order to determine what the audience wanted.
Yeah.
And the
That's cool.
feedback,
Yeah.
as I said about that red serge jacket, the feedback is always leaning toward the Mounties, right? It's always leaning toward law and order, leaning toward the law enforcement officers who, keep everybody safe and work on community. So we knew that was probably in the cards for that to continue, and it's doing just fine.
Yeah,
Um,
it is.
yeah, but for Gwendolyn, we love the idea, as we did way back with Abigail and Cody and Becky, how she basically took in foster kids,
Mhm.
right? And then ultimately adopted Cody. We love that. We love that because it's a contemporary idea. It's not necessarily, I'm not saying that it's only a contemporary idea. There was obviously lots of kids who were adopted and were cared for as foster kids way back in history too, because so many people passed away, so many parents passed away, and so forth in just different disasters and all of that. But we love the idea of foster care. And my wife, Patty, grew up a foster child. She and I have adopted two children in our lives. Two of our five kids are adopted children. And so we believe in adoption. We believe in foster care in a big way. And if we can lean into that as part of this community that people love so much on television and role model that kind of care and that kind of taking somebody in who needs help, right? Uh, we're going to do it. Like that's such a beautiful, rich aspect to what this show can be. And so we just think that's a thrilling opportunity, and we'll see where that goes for Lee and Rosemary and Gwen.
It's been really fun to watch that dynamic, to see, Rosemary realize, okay, it's a moment where Gwen needs to be with Lee and that interaction. It's been really fun to watch so far.
Yes, yes.
So
Yeah.
we're through 4 episodes. Do you have a moment? I mean, we've got the fire that happened in episode 2. We've seen the things that are going on with Toby and that situation with Cooper. So
Yes,
many different things. Maisie, Mike, love their dynamic. Do you have a favorite moment that we've seen so far?
I do. And it coalesces between both of those arcs in episode 4. So it's absolutely heartbreaking when Cooper thinks that he's being a burden on his parents because of this possible, guilt, even if it was an accident, that they had accidentally started that fire that burned a whole town down, and by extension the national park. So when Cooper is basically trying to escape home, leave home because he doesn't want to burden his parents with his problems. Um, that moment when his mom brings her into her arms, and tells him that he's loved and known.
You are known and loved.
It's such a moving moment to me, a mother-son moment to me, and then it coalesces when Oliver talks those boys into coming to that birthday party, his own birthday party with them, and he even basically, blackmails them to get there because he says, "Well, I'm not going to go if you're not going to go," right?
Yeah.
And when they walk up, and then Maisie, who has everything at stake as the mayor of Benson Hills, for her to go and stand alongside those boys, it's such a moment of healing and community, and the fact that her character arc and the way you know she turns from that sort of condescending big sister, right, to Mike and May, the sister-in-law to May, to a leader who represents so many tragic stories, her own included, from that fire, but she agrees to almost embrace the boys that may or may not have caused that disaster. I just thought, wow, forgiveness on television is a rarity.
Oh, yeah.
And we seem to do it all the time in Hope Valley. Gee, I wonder why. Like, because it is necessary, it's needed. Second chances are needed. And even when, Lee goes to McGinty and apologizes and said, let us help you rebuild your house. There's deep, deep magic for humanity in stories like that. And we are committed, all of us, to continue that. It's the secret sauce of Hope Valley. Redemption, second chances, grace, mercy. Those words get used in Hope Valley all the time. And we will never stop using those words.
Love it so much. So as we head into the next third of the season, is there something that you can tease that Hearties can really look forward to?
I'm not gonna go as far as Joy Gregory, but I'm gonna basically say that Hearties have been poised for a big, big turn, right? And they're gonna get it.
Wow. Here we go. That might be the shocked and surprised part you were talking about, right?
Yeah. Shock and awe more is better.
Well, that's exciting. Oh, goodness. Well, Brian, I know this was quick, but I wanted to take the opportunity to check in with you. I'm always excited to get your perspective. I mean, you've been here from the beginning, and so exciting. I mean, we're loving the pacing of season 13. We're liking where it's going, the direction, these characters, how the stories are so interwoven. It's exciting. And thank you so much for taking the time to chat.
My pleasure. And I'll just say, and Hearties worldwide have heard me say this many times, but Hearties and fans of When Calls the Heart are the only reason it's still going. We truly believe this. And so do the folks at Hallmark. They are acknowledging that the fans of When Calls the Heart are the wind beneath the wings of this show, and they always have been, and they continue to be. They continue to be loyal and faithful to the show. Yes, we don't please everybody all the time, and we know some people can be disappointed sometimes in the moves that we make, but it's okay because the good, bad, or ugly, people are passionate about this show, and that is rocket fuel for us to continue. We don't ever want to stop. We won't stop until the fans say we're done, like we're good, right?
Yeah.
We hope that never happens, but at some point the show will end. But we don't see that right now when that is, and we will keep going strong for everybody because we love the fans so much. The Hearties are truly an army of support that we could have never imagined, but when they were born, it was God ordained.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you, Ryan. All right, bye-bye.
Bye.